business strategy for competitive advantage to scale and grow. What you do after you have your early adopters is what we're going to talk about. We have today an outstanding panel to speak here. We have Adrian Davis, we have Manish Mehta, and we have Krish Shah. Adrian is internationally sought after professional speaker. He's author and strategy consultant. He's worked as a trusted advisor and management consultant with organizations such as AOL, Motorola, Aviva, and DuPont. His approach aims to reconcile sales with deeper customer relationships and directed innovation. His results show an enhanced customer value and a dramatic increase in profitability and scalability. He is a certified professional in business process management and a certified competitive intelligence professional. He is a thought-provoking speaker and is frequently called upon to address senior management teams and sales groups on the subjects of corporate strategy, competitive advantage, and sales excellence. Without further ado, I request Adrian to come up and give his keynote on the topic today.
How's everybody doing? Good. Good, good. It's great to be here. I just learned about this organization, Connecting with Lily, and I love to be around entrepreneurs. I think that entrepreneurs are very special people, and by special, what I really mean is crazy. I think that people who start their own businesses from scratch are very unique people. And the entrepreneur life, the entrepreneurial lifestyle, it's a lonely road. And it's not everything that it's cracked up to be. I think sometimes you feel very alone, and no one understands you, but you have this big dream. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I mean, how many of you are just starting? You haven't launched your business yet, you're just starting out. Wonderful. And how many of you have been in business for a couple of years, at least? Okay, so I guess there's a nice balance there. I want to speak to you about this process of starting a company from scratch and then growing it and making it a lasting enterprise. Not very many people are successful doing this. And so in terms of agenda, I'd like to talk for about 45, 50 minutes. I believe I have an hour. So I'd like to leave about 10, 15 minutes afterward for Q&A. But if in the middle of my presentation there's something that's really stirring you and you want to ask, feel free to interrupt me. We'll roll with it. But I'll leave some Q&A time for the end. I'd like to talk about the enterprise life cycle, how companies grow up. And then I want to talk about the relationship life cycle, how critically important it is as you launch your business to ensure that you have relationships, significant, meaningful relationships with your customers, and what that life cycle looks like. And then finally, I want to talk about the winning strategy, how to position your company in such a way that no matter what happens, your company will be successful. This is what the enterprise life cycle looks like. And this came from working with startups, like some of you here, and then I started to work with second stage entrepreneurial companies, eventually working with some of the largest companies in the world. And what I found as I worked with these companies from startup through to quite mature organizations is that there are certain patterns that, depending on the size of the organization, the organization will exhibit. As I mentioned earlier, and I wasn't joking, entrepreneurs are different people. It takes boldness. It takes courage. It takes chutzpah to say, I have an idea. There's something stirring around in my mind, and I believe in it. And you know what? I'm going to go out on my own, and I'm going to launch this company. Not very many people do this. You're unique. You're in a class that's apart from most people. Most people are happy to show up at work for a paycheck. I'll do my 9 to 5, I'll get a paycheck. And to leave the comfort of that security of a regular paycheck takes a lot of guts. Most of the people who launch businesses, however, I believe the stat is 80%, fail within the first 5 years. So this is no small task. This is no small undertaking. To launch a business from scratch, there's a lot going against us. So what does it take to be successful? I'll share with you a few keys that I've seen. Once you move to the next stage, so the first stage I call the entrepreneurial. The next stage is performing. This is where the business has gotten off the ground. And it is a real business. It has customers, it delivers services or products, and it gets paid. This is the performing enterprise. In a sense, it's found its legs. The entrepreneurial company often fails simply because it underestimates what is required to get the company off the ground. It always takes longer and costs more than you think. Usually twice as much. It'll take twice as long and cost twice as much as you're planning to get the company off the ground. So it dies from starvation, not enough cash flow. The performing enterprise will often die from indigestion. That once it gets off the ground and it has customers and it begins to deliver value to these customers, because it does not have processes and systems and procedures, as it becomes more successful, its success is its own undoing. It collapses under the weight of its success because it doesn't have the necessary infrastructure to uphold it. To be successful, it must move to the next phase, which we call the systematic enterprise. And this is what all big businesses have in common. They have systems. They have people who know how to run organizations that are large-scale organizations. The challenge now, when your organization gets to the systematic phase, is it is a completely different type of thinking that is required to run a systematic enterprise. The type of thinking required to get an organization off the ground is really its imagination and its passion. Reality doesn't matter. In fact, for the entrepreneur, they must believe so much in their idea, so much in their imagination, that when everybody tells them, this can't be done, you're crazy, why don't you just get a job? They don't care about the facts. They believe in their imagination. They believe in their vision. And regardless, they don't care about reality because they create reality. They said that, the man with belief is more powerful than someone with all the facts. Why is that? Because my belief creates the facts. I create the facts. My imagination creates the facts. So you're living within the facts? I'm going to create the facts. Reality comes out of my imagination. And I transform reality by my imagination. That's the kind of person that's required to start a company. If you don't have 100% belief and passion for your idea, stop now. If you have that passion and belief, reality doesn't matter. The state of the economy doesn't matter. The fact that you can't get financing doesn't matter. None of that matters. The belief will drive you to manifest the reality. That individual, when the company manifests, and now it's real, and it has human beings, it has people depending on it to be successful, and it must now be disciplined. That same individual that had the motivational horsepower to get this thing off the ground becomes a bottleneck when it's systematic. It is a different type of individual that is required to systematize a business. To launch a business, I need somebody who doesn't care about reality. All they care about is their imagination. To systematize a business, I need someone who doesn't care about imagination. They just deal with the facts, and they can manage the facts. So when the company gets to the systematic phase, tension is created because we often have to import professional managers to manage and scale the company. And they don't think like entrepreneurs. And so it creates conflict and tension within the organization. Most organizations will collapse here because the environment becomes so inhospitable to the entrepreneurial resources that they leave. And they try to find another organization that will accommodate them, or they start another organization. When the entrepreneur leaves the organization, the spirit and the soul of the organization lives. And as the environment adapts and changes, the creativity is gone. And we end up managing the company into the ground. Those companies that learn how to combine the entrepreneurial mindset with the professional manager mindset move into the adaptive phase. They understand the power of discipline, but they also understand the necessity of imagination. Ultimately then, that allows them to move to what I call the preemptive stage, where instead of adapting to change, they drive change. So in a sense, this large organization becomes entrepreneurial once again. The difference is, initially, the entrepreneur has no resources other than his or her imagination and passion. Here at the preemptive stage, we have imagination, we have passion, but we also have the infrastructure that enables us to be successful, and so we can be proactive about change. This gentleman, if you recognize him, Tony Shea, from Zappos Shoes. He joined Zappos when it was just over $1 million in 1999. Entrepreneurial company. In 9 years, he grew Zappos from just over $1 million to not 100 million, not 200 million, not 500 million, to over $1 billion in 9 years, selling shoes, handbags, accessories. I can't think of a more commoditized business than shoes. How do you sell shoes online and run a profitable billion-dollar company within 9 years? Tony Shea understood something. And what he understood was what a company really stands for, what a company really means. And he was very careful about the people he hired to join him. Though every employee that joined him had to train for 5 weeks. So first of all, there's a rigorous screening process. But once they decide to hire you and bring you on board, before you can sell shoes to anybody, you must be trained for 5 weeks. 5 weeks before you can sell shoes. After the first week, and they pay you, they'll pay you full time while you're working there, for the training, while you're training. After the first week, they offer you $2,000 to leave. And if you take the money, they're happy. Everybody wins. If you don't take the money, they continue to train you for the next 4 weeks, but the offer still stands. At any time you can cash out, and they'll pay you for your time, they'll shake hands, and they'll give you the $2,000 bonus. At the end of 5 weeks of training everybody in the vision and the values of the company, you really understand what this company stands for. At the end of 5 weeks, those who remain are passionate about the company and what it's trying to do. Tony Shea was not selling shoes. What he was selling, and what he had everybody understand, is he is selling the moment when the box arrives, when you order the shoes, and the box arrives. That moment when you open the box and you see those shoes, man, you wouldn't understand. This is mostly women will understand this. That moment when you open the shoes is a moment of happiness. It's a moment of joy. Shoes are special. And when you get the exact shoes that you want, there's a moment of happiness. And that is what Zappos was selling. And the understanding, getting everybody to understand, we are selling happiness. We're not selling shoes. And people are uncomfortable buying over the internet, having never tried them on. And so every interaction they have with us must be a happy, reassuring interaction. And so selling shoes online is not about taking orders. It's about building relationships. And that's what they did. And that's why they were able to scale so quickly and wipe out all of their competition. You know, my son, when he was 8 years old, we were walking through the woods and just talking, walking, and then out of the blue, he says to me, "Dad, did you know that only 2 people in the world know what's in Coke?" And I said, well, I knew it was a secret recipe. He said, yeah, only 2 people in the world know the ingredients of Coke. And then we walked a bit more. And then he asked me, why would anybody drink something if they don't know what's inside? And I thought, wow, what a profound question from an 8-year-old. I mean, when I was that age, I just drank everything. I didn't question it. But he's now like, why would you drink something if you don't know what's in it? Today, Coke is still the #1 beverage in the world. Today, 1.7 billion servings of Coke were served in 200 different countries. Coke understands what Tony Hsieh understands. We're not selling commodities. We're selling happiness. Coke pushes happiness, and they help facilitate moments of happiness. And human beings, our soul gravitates to happiness. We want pleasure. We want happiness. We want to feel good. We don't want to feel bad. And business people, the successful ones, understand this. The unsuccessful ones think that they're selling a product or they're selling a service. And they get wrapped up in the technicalities and the features of their product and service. What we have to figure out is that higher level value that we are delivering, and make sure that everybody who works with us understands that higher level value. Is this making sense? Yes? Very good. Do you recognize this? What are these? Don't be shy. Flowers, urinals. Both, yeah, flowers and urinals, exactly. So this is amazing to me. This came out of the mind of a designer. And what he wanted to do was make men's bathrooms beautiful. And you know, the men, we all understand this. The women, let me kind of unpack this for you. Men's bathrooms are disgusting. Okay? They stink, they're sloppy, it's not nice. What this designer wanted to do was make men's bathrooms pleasant. So he came up with this concept that not only would it make the initial experience pleasant, but it would maintain the pleasantness of the bathroom. Why? Because through this design, he has given men something to aim for. So there's less spillage. And as a result, the bathroom stays cleaner longer. I mean, this is phenomenal. This is imagination. This is somebody looking at a problem and saying, I can solve this. And then for him, it became passion. So he was passionate about doing this. What are you passionate about? And how does what you bring into the world make the world a better place? And this is such a powerful concept, this notion of, I can have something in my imagination, and I can take it from my imagination and manifest it into reality. And that's what entrepreneurs do. That is the power of the entrepreneur. Most people don't understand the human mind, how powerful it is. And the way I would describe it is this. The brain is a thing. The mind is an activity. The mind is an electrical activity. And so as you think, electricity is firing in your mind. When you have an idea, that idea is energy. And there's a fundamental law of science that says this: energy can be neither created nor destroyed. It can only be converted from one form to another. Interesting. So, an idea comes into my mind. And when it lands, I get excited. I have energy around this idea. But I didn't create this energy. The energy was in the idea. And it landed in my mind. And from my mind, the energy that it creates in me drives me to manifest it. So when this chair comes into reality, it represents energy. But it represents energy that was first in my mind as an imagination. No one else saw this design except me. And I was passionate about it. You know, I like to think of it like this. If you think of your brain, your mind, like trees, that's how the mind is wired. And then think of a bunch of squirrels running up the trees and jumping from one tree to another. That's how ideas communicate. That's how you think. But that's all energy. What if every day I became crystal clear about my vision? What it means is those squirrels are moving through the trees in a systematic formation. I've taken random energy and I've given it form in my mind. Because I've done that, I have created the thing. It already exists. It might not be in reality yet, but it exists. So the most powerful thing that you can do as an entrepreneur is to get clear about what you're creating. This is what separates you from everybody else. Most people have scattered minds, scattered energy. You, as an entrepreneur, have a vision. And if you commit to that vision, you are organizing energy. And energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be converted from one form to another. So you have already created the thing. That vision that you have of your business, it's real. Commit to it. Back it up with some passion, and you'll see it. You'll see it. And so we want to take this energy, and we want other people to pick it up. It's contagious. If I'm passionate about this idea, and I'm speaking to my colleagues about it, and my suppliers, and my supporters, they get excited as well. They catch that energy. And once they catch that energy, we can manifest it together. Steve Jobs actually said this in an interview. He said that what changed his whole life was when he realized everything around us came out of other people's imagination. And then he thought to himself, what makes them better than me? Why can they do it, but I can't? And that changed his whole life. And he changed the whole world. But he's not better than you. Your vision can change the world. And if your vision doesn't excite you, if it doesn't ignite passion in you, it's too small. Daniel Burnham said, make no little plans, for they have no magic to stir men's souls. Make big plans, aim high. Don't let people tell you that you're crazy. Dream big and get excited about what you can do. If you can see it in your mind, it is real. You just have to back it up with some action to manifest it. And you need to recruit others. And so this is how you go from the entrepreneurial stage to the performing stage. So what's critical for an entrepreneur? It's absolutely critical. Your mind must be organized. You cannot be confused. People are looking to you as their leader. If you're confused and doubtful, you can't lead us. What makes you the leader is clarity. Clarity of vision. So what is your mission? Why are you in business? It's amazing to me with some of these larger companies. They think they're going to inspire people by telling them, we need to make more money. We need to make more money so that I can be rich. We need the stock prices to go up so I can make more money. I'm telling you, that creates resentment. You want to create passion. And passion comes from your mission. Why are you doing this? How does your idea, your concept, your vision, how does it make the world a better place? So you must have purpose. And people must believe in this purpose, this higher level purpose. Once you're clear on that purpose, you have to see what it looks like when it's manifested. What is this big, hairy, audacious goal that you have? And why is the world better when it's manifested? And if you can see it, and you can get others to see it, they will follow you. So have a why, and then be clear about what it looks like. And then again, the Zappa shoes, what Tony Hsieh did, which is wonderful, was he trained people on the company's values. You must believe in our values, and you must be passionate about our values. And if you're not, you don't belong here. So now he has this whole army of individuals who love his vision, who believe in his vision, and who get meaning from their work. You know, I was really curious, why is it that everybody who runs a company wants the company to grow? I've never met anybody who has a company and says, Adrian, I'm trying to shrink this company. Nobody. Everybody expects their company to grow. The answer came to me when my grandmother was dying. And I was on her deathbed, or she was on her deathbed. And I was talking to her, and I asked her, I said, Gran, what is a moment, as you look back on your life, that you're really proud of? The answer blew me away. All my life, my grandmother was a church lady. That's what she did. All my life, that's what I've known her as. The pillar of the church. When I asked her, what is a moment in your life that you're really proud of? She said to me, you know, I had a shop. I ran a small restaurant. She was in Jamaica. And she said it was behind the police station. And all the police would line up for my food. Now my grandmother could bake, and she could cook. I mean, you would become an addict if she cooked for you. And that's what happened. The police loved her stuff. And then she said how there was a problem with infestation and they had to shut all the restaurants down. But that was the moment, as she's dying, Christian woman, spiritual woman, as she's dying, that's a moment that she looks back on and says, I'm really proud of that moment. And I thought, wow, work is not work. A business is not just a business. A business is the expression of the human soul. That within all of us, we want to do something meaningful. We want to matter. We want to touch the lives of others. And that's what creating a business does. It makes the world a better place. And to have a business that doesn't grow is like having a child that doesn't grow. Because our soul is in the business. And therefore that human energy must make the business grow. And people who come into our business, they must find fulfillment in their work, beyond a paycheck. So as an entrepreneur, as the leader, we must set the pace and give people meaning. And as they find meaning in their work, they will get behind you to help your company grow. Why? Because it's the nature of the human soul. We have to express our highest good. So use your values to govern the behavior of your people. That values are like sidewalks, and we don't drive on the sidewalk. So with clearly defined values, we know how we're going to operate. And that's why Tony Hsieh could trust his people when they interact with their customers. Because they're all committed to the values. So as the entrepreneur, you must be clear in your mind, what's the mission of this company? What is my vision for it? And what are our values? Organized thinking. I like to think of this as an analogy, think of a fax machine. I can take a piece of paper and I can draw an image on this paper. We're here in Toronto. I can then push this through a machine and have it appear in Japan exactly the same way. That's what you're doing. When you get clarity of the vision, the image that you see for your company, if you can get that crystal clear in your mind and back it up with some desire and some passion, it's like the fax machine. It's going to come into reality exactly the way you envision. Because energy can't be created or destroyed. And that vision has energy. And so we need to just take that energy and have it transformed into physical reality. So mission, vision, values. Again, as a leader, you want to set the pace. The other thing to get to that performing stage, the sooner you define your ideal customer, the faster you will grow. We can't please everybody. The sooner you're clear about who you're in business for, and that's the nature of business today. In the past, we could be in business for ourselves and just sell product to everybody. Today, the competition is so intense that the sooner we're clear about who we're in business for, and the better we understand them, and the more value we can bring to them, the faster we will grow. So who's your ideal customer? I mentioned passion. Passion, again, is the energy that transforms your vision into reality. And it's contagious. And you want everybody around you to have that passion. If they don't, get rid of them. Pay them $2,000 to go away. They're a detriment to your company. If you can have everybody in your company passionate about what you're doing, you're going to have a powerful, non-stoppable company. And then discipline. And this is where I think entrepreneurs get into trouble. Because we tend to be creative, it's hard to stick with one thing. You know, they say entrepreneurs suffer from attention deficit. Oh, what's that shiny new object? We're constantly thinking of the next thing. We need some discipline. And often to get that, we need somebody else. One person can't do it all. So if you can have a trusted partner, a trusted sidekick, who brings that disciplined action, keeps you focused, says, no, we haven't finished yet. You have to stay the course. You need that. You need to focus your energies. And then finally, decision. As the leader, the business you are in is the business of making decisions. Decision is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. And if you don't exercise it, it atrophies. It becomes weak. And then when you have to make big decisions, all you can do is stare at the decision, and you don't know what to do. But if you're decisive, and you're developing that muscle, when the big decisions come, you can make a decision. And if it's the wrong decision, you just make another decision, because the muscle is exercised. And when people see that kind of decisiveness in you as the leader, they trust you. They believe in you. And if you're consistent in how you make decisions, they see your values in how you make decisions, you're going to believe in you. I mentioned the ideal client profile. Making sure you understand your customer. Why? Because we're in a race for value. The race we're in today is the race for value. This is a commoditized world. Everything is commoditized. Things that you think are so complex that there's no way it could be commoditized. You show up tomorrow and somebody's commoditized it. There's some way you can buy it over the internet and put some money in a vending machine and presto, there it is. So we're in this race for value. People don't know what value is. Everybody wants to be added value. But if you stop them and say, define for me, what does it mean, added value? They can't give you clarity. Because value is not the way it used to be. The way it used to be was, I get raw resources, raw materials out of the ground. And then I put them through a value-added process, and I create finished products. So as the manufacturer, I define value, because I added my value to raw materials to create a finished product. Today we find ourselves in a situation where I can do that all day. And when I present the finished product to the consumer or the customer, they say, sorry, I'm not interested. Because they define value. Value is no longer what I add to a process. Value is now a perception. It's based on my experience as the consumer of the product or the service. I decide if it's valuable. And the way that I demonstrate that value, to say, yes, I believe in this, is through sacrifice. In other words, if you have something of value for me, I will give something up in order to obtain it. Two things that I will give up, two currencies that I have. One is time. I will give you my time in order to get your value. That's a currency. And the other is money. I will give you money in order to get your value. So those are my two currencies that I trade for value. And so all you need to do is look at your calendar. How willing is your ideal customer to spend time with you? That tells you if you have value. And look at your cash flow. How willing are customers to pay you to obtain your value? Of the two, time is the leading indicator. The moment people start resisting spending time with you, you're going to have a cash flow problem down the road. You're going to have a revenue problem down the road. Because money follows on. So the new value chain is the exact opposite of the old one. The old one, as I mentioned, said I get assets, I have land building equipment, I get raw materials, I put them through a value-added process, I create products, I push these products through channels, and customers then get them. But I define value. The new value chain starts with the customer. So before you do anything, do you know who you're in business to serve? And do you know what they value? What are the challenges that they are facing? And how can you help? How can you help them get where they want to go? So the old saying was, build it, and they will come. The new saying is, figure out where they're going, and help them get there. Because it's not about us anymore. And so the road to wealth is helping people get where they're going. But we have to understand the customer first. Once we understand who the ideal customer is, we know where they are, where they live and play, and so we'll use the channels that will meet them where they are. And then we'll shape our offerings to be appropriate for those channels, and then we'll decide what raw materials we need and what investments we need. The other life cycle we want to look at is the enterprise life cycle. We go from the entrepreneurial through to the systematic. The other one we want to look at is the relationship life cycle. The relationships we have with our customers matter a great deal. And we need to master those relationships. So how am I doing on time?
You have 20 minutes.
20 minutes. And how's everybody doing? Is this all making sense? Is good? Yes? Great. We have to master relationships. We didn't need to do this in the past. In the past, we needed to master our product and distribution of the product. Today, if we're going to be successful in business, relationships matter. And we need to be masters of building relationships. And so we can think of relationships now, not from our perspective, but from the buyer's perspective. From our perspective, it's really easy. There are prospects, and we want to convert them to customers. From the buyer's perspective, they're initially seeing us as strangers. So that call that we're trying to make to get in front of them, that email that we're sending them, the advertising that we're doing, it's all just a stranger pursuing them. So we need to change the way we market recognizing that we are strangers, and we're showing up in somebody's world as strangers. So how can we become more familiar and more comfortable to them? If we're successful converting them from a prospect to a customer, the reality is we haven't converted them, they've converted us. And they've converted us from a stranger to a supplier. As a supplier, we now have the opportunity to do the transaction. Give them what it is they're expecting. If we are clear about what they are expecting, and we deliver above their expectations, that's going to trigger an emotional response. They're going to have the sense of, wow, this is great. And you'll often hear them ask you at this point, what else do you guys do? They want to do more business with you. Service today is horrible. Most companies are abysmal. In fact, Tony Hsieh said, don't be surprised if a few years from now you see a Zappos airline, which I think would be awesome, to have an airline that actually believes in customer service. I thought those two things would never go together again. So what he's saying is, what we have developed and what we have mastered is how to relate successfully with other human beings. We know how to make people feel good, how to make people trust us, how to make people enjoy us. We can sell anything. The product doesn't matter. The relationship is what matters. The relationship is the vehicle through which we provide service. So what we want to do is get here to this desired supplier stage. Because once you get there, everything opens up. People want to work with you. They want to sponsor you into the organization. As a supplier, you just deal with me. As a desired supplier, I want to introduce you to my friends. Because I know you're not going to let me down. And so this emotional element is critical. Once you've got that, it gives you the opportunity to move to a trusted advisor. A trusted advisor is different from a supplier in the sense that a supplier is trying to supply product to you. A trusted advisor wants your best interest, is trying to help you. So they really understand what it is you're trying to do, and they are a resource for you, a trusted resource, that they will find for you what you need to accomplish what you want to do. So as a supplier, I know what I want. As a trusted advisor, I understand your business, and I understand your goals and what you're trying to achieve, and I want to help you achieve those. The ultimate relationship, though, is the strategic ally, or the symbiotic partner. It's a true partnership, where there's so much trust in the relationship that we're now going to work together to create value. So I understand your customers so well, I understand your business so well, we share the same values, and so we can really partner now to work together. Strategic ally. As you grow your business, what you want to do is master the disciplines around building a relationship. And so this concept of lifecycle marketing, and it came from a company called Infusionsoft, which specializes in helping small businesses. And I do have an ebook from them on building successful marketing plans that I'm happy to share with you on the evaluation sheet. If you just check that, I'll send that to you. But what they're saying is, these are the disciplines that are going to help you move through that relationship life cycle. If you understand consistently who's your ideal customer and what content, what value do you need to put out in the marketplace that will attract the ideal customer. So instead of a stranger pursuing them and making them anxious, what you're doing is educating them. You're sharing with them that you understand what their challenges are. And you're putting value out in the marketplace that attracts their attention. And so that pulls them into your orbit. As you do that, you have to capture them, get them to share with you, identify themselves to you, so that you're not chasing them, they're chasing you. So capture leads. Then you need to nurture the relationship. A lot of people think the transaction is going to be made right away. It's not. This is a relationship business now. And so we need disciplines that show our people how to nurture, how to build relationships over time, and how to build trust. Once we've done that, then we can make the sale. Once we've made the sale, we must deliver above expectations. So we must be very clear on what the expectation is and how we deliver above those expectations. Then we can upsell. We can provide more value. Once the trust is there, once the relationship is there, we can add more value. And then ultimately, because they have become advocates, and in a sense they become partners, they will then refer us to others. And that's the best way for us to grow our business. Where people are so excited about what they do, they're telling other people about what we do. But we must deliver above expectations to do that. So I have an ebook on this that goes into more detail that I can share with you. Again, just reminding you of the relationship life cycle and the enterprise life cycle. What we do now is bring these two cycles together to create this matrix. And this is how we craft our strategy. The horizontal axis is the enterprise life cycle. We start off as entrepreneurial, we move to performing, we then systematize, we then become adaptive, we then become preemptive. The vertical axis is the relationship life cycle. We start out as strangers, but we build trust. That trust that we build enables us to engage in transactions with them. We deliver above expectations, so we become desired. Once we become desired, the relationship opens up. We can become trusted advisors. Ultimately, we can become strategic partners. When we build this level of relationship, what happens is the information that is shared with us is very different than the information that's shared with our competitors. Vendors are held at arm's length. There's a bit of a tension between vendors and buyers. The vendor wants to sell to you. You interpret that as, they just want my money. So you're trying to give as little money as possible, maybe none, and I'm trying to get as much money as possible. And so there's this tension between vendor and buyer. When we move into this level of relationship, that tension disappears. Because there's so much trust in the relationship. I trust Lalit, Lalit trusts me. We're transparent with each other, we have the same values, we understand each other's goals, each other's vision. And so we're just working together as partners to have this mutually beneficial, symbiotic relationship where we're marching forward together. The information that is shared in this relationship is proprietary. Lalit is sharing information with me that he doesn't share with my competitors. That insight that comes from this relationship, this is my ideal customer. The insight that I get enables me to continue to innovate. I'm not looking for Lalit to tell me what to build for him or what value to deliver next. What I'm looking for is him to be transparent with me so I understand what his challenges are. And I can see his emerging challenges. And based on my understanding and my expertise, I can now create new value for Lalit. And so that's what gives this quadrant the advantage. Organizations that operate here consistently build strategic relationships with their customers and take the insight that they gather from those relationships to continue to innovate. So they are entrepreneurial with deep insight, which is really how the entrepreneurial company usually starts in the first place, with deep insight. Those of you who want to start your own business, you see something that others don't see because you have insight, you have understanding. Then as we move into the company, we lose that insight. We become product-focused instead of customer-focused. So this we call the loser's quadrant. Why? Because we haven't figured out how to scale or how to adapt. And, I like to say it this way, the customers here resent our profitability. They don't like the fact that we're making money. So they're constantly driving us to give them discounts. And they don't care about us, what happens to our profitability. They just want a cheap price. Here, there's mutual respect. And I understand that you need to make money, and I'm happy to see you profitable. So we call this the loser's quadrant. This we call the legends. you have figured out how to deliver strategic value. What you haven't figured out is where to go next. So once that strategic value becomes commoditized, the party's over. And we start having conversations like, remember when? Remember when we used to do this and we used to do that? So it's critical that if you're here, you figure out how to get into the winner's quadrant. The myths I refer to as organizations, usually very large organizations, that used to deliver value, but they become so big that they have put a net around their customers. I like to think of this as captured customers. Think of your cable company, okay, or your telco, where they don't have to provide the best service to you anymore because they put a net around us. I signed this 3-year contract with my provider every time a new product comes out. And so I get the new iPhone and I put out my hands and they put the handcuffs on me for another 3 years. I'm not loyal because there's real value there. I'm loyal because I'm obligated. And so we call these the myths because if we were to remove those shackles, the true value would be revealed. The reason it's critical for you to build your business in such a way that it gets into that winner's quadrant is because of this. This is the underlying reality to every business, no matter how successful. What it says is this. This is profitability, and this is time. So as you start up, obviously you're not profitable. You're putting more money in than you're getting out. But you're out there, you're trying to figure out what's value. And as you figure that out, eventually you find your stride. And when you find your stride, over time, you become more and more profitable. Here's the problem. When that happens, when you take what's in your imagination and you bring it into reality, and everybody celebrates you, you believe that you have found the magic formula that nobody else has ever found. And you believe that you will always be on this growing curve of profitability. And in a sense, it seduces us. And we think that this is going to last forever. It never does. It never does. Competitors will not allow it to. When they see what you're doing to create value, they're going to jump on board as well and try to imitate. And things change. The environment changes. And so your value diminishes. And so there's parity, and then eventually you begin to decline. The challenge is, when you're growing in profitability, if we look at this arrow here, this is your strategic ability to change. The more profitable you are, the more ability, the more capable you are of strategic change. As you decline in profitability, your ability to engage in strategic change also declines. However, the readiness to change is the exact opposite. As you are gaining in profitability, the readiness for change is the lowest because you believe what you're doing is so successful. It's not until reality hits and you begin to become unprofitable that the desire for change goes up. And so this graph shows you how seductive it is to have a successful business. The more successful you are, the more you're seduced by your success. And so as the leader, you need to be able to engage in what we call anticipatory change. Even though we're growing, we know it's not going to last forever. Nothing does like this. So what is the next curve we need to get onto? Where is value going? And that's why we must have these strategic relationships with our customers so we can see how their world is changing and we can figure out what we need to do next. Because when we get over here, it's hemorrhaging. Our best people are leaving us, our investors have lost confidence in us, our customers have lost confidence in us, and it's very difficult to pivot. So the best way to pivot, rather than pivot in a crisis, is to pivot when you have the best resources. I'm going to stop there, and let's have a little bit of time for Q&A. Yes. Hopefully that landed and it made some sense to you. Any questions or comments or concerns? Yes.
Of course, all entrepreneurs start with an idea and they have passion. But how does one protect oneself? Because not all ideas are great and not all of them may be viable.
Yes.
So how does one protect said. How does one know that this is really a winning idea on which I could stake everything that I have, or whatever significant value?
So great question. Because we can get drunk on our ideas and do everything we can to manifest them. And that's what I was saying earlier, defining the ideal customer. So we must first know who we're in business for. What most of us do is get into business for our idea. This is such a great idea, I've got to go into business. Well, who are you going to sell it to? I don't know, but somebody's going to want it. No. First thing we must do once we have this idea, in fact, before we have the idea should be rooted in people. We should have an understanding of people. It's like the iPod. The iPod wasn't just this cool idea. There was a challenge. CDs were becoming more and more popular. CD libraries were growing, and they were becoming unmanageable. And once we see that, that's where the idea comes, we can help. And so we must first root our concepts in the challenges that human beings have. What is the challenge here? And if the idea is addressing a real challenge, it will be successful. If it's just an idea, and there's no magnet for it, then we're going to be challenged. Yes?
So, my question is on the other side. If you have too many stakeholders to study upon, right?
Too many stakeholders.
Too many stakeholders. So I'm building a medical device, so I have to sell it to the hospital, but I have to satisfy the administrators or the OHIP type people who are going to pay the physician, and physician has to make an influence that they want to get that device. And then at the end of the day, patient also has a say in it. So there are too many stakeholders, and the money flow is so convoluted. It is not as simple as providing somebody, delivering something of value to one person,
yes,
grabbing money.
Yes.
So how do you go around in that situation?
Yeah, so this is what we would call the complex sale. And I believe I'm coming back on the 25th to deal with sales. And depending on the agenda, we could address this. But this is a sales issue. This is the value that salespeople bring to your organization. So you need to bring strategic thinking salespeople who can map out all the stakeholders, understand what the strategic objectives are, and how each stakeholder fits into this complex map. And what's the self-interest of each stakeholder? And by satisfying the self-interest, how do we at the same time satisfy the strategic objective of the overall organization? And there's a bunch of sales strategy that's in this as well. But it's a human relationship thing, and it's a strategic thinking, selling strategically that's required here. But as long as we know what we're delivering has real value, then it's a matter of quarterbacking the engagement to get success and managing all the different stakeholder interests. So this is a strategic selling issue.
Any more questions?
Yes.
Yeah. I just have a couple of questions. First of all, thank you. That was a great talk.
Thank you.
Can you be my life coach?
Yes.
Anyway, my real question, I guess, is based on your last graph that you showed, but also the enterprise life cycle, do you think that entrepreneurs should sort of stick to being entrepreneurs and maybe using those graphs as a good time to exit, like selling the business to somebody else? I mean, is that, maybe I'm overstating things, but that's sort of what I'm reading from that.
So great question. I'd give a two-part answer. The first part being absolutely entrepreneurs should remain entrepreneurs. That doesn't necessarily mean, the second part though, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to sell the business. It just means you need to be very clear about your role and figure out how you can continue to be the creator no matter what stage the business is in. And I think, in fact, the most successful companies have entrepreneurs leading them, even though they're massive and large. If an entrepreneur is at the helm, the business will be very successful. So I don't think you have to sell, but for some entrepreneurs, once the company gets to a certain size, it's not fun anymore. And if it's not fun anymore, sell. And I think that's a very good message as well. This must be fun. This must be fun. Don't stress yourself out. This should be like a game that you enjoy. There's a saying that says success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal. So once we have a worthy goal, as long as we are moving towards that goal, we must enjoy the feeling of success. It can't be that we're stressed, we're losing our hair, we're turning gray, we're miserable. That's no life. The life of a creator, to be someone who has imagination and vision and has the ability to manifest that, this is the highest level faculty of human beings. There's nobody on the planet, maybe the whole universe, except for God, that can do this. This is a godlike quality. To do it and not enjoy it is crazy. So I would say, if it gets to the point where this isn't fun anymore, you're a creator. Sell it and do something else that's fun. But you don't have to sell. But you absolutely should keep this gift of an entrepreneurial spirit. Absolutely. I thought there was another question.
I had a question, but it was along the same lines. And
Great. Okay, let me just finish here. I just want to show you. Sometimes what you need is right behind you or beside you. You're just not looking in the right place. So believe in your vision, but don't get stuck to a certain paradigm or way of thinking. Be open to many ways. How you get there, in a sense, doesn't matter, as long as it's ethical. What matters is the vision. So you state the vision, you be passionate about the vision, but be open, be flexible about how you can get there. Sometimes the help shows up in ways that you're not thinking, and so be sensitive to that. On the evaluation sheet, I want to offer you this ebook, 7 Steps to a Complete Small Business Sales and Marketing Plan. The other thing that I want to offer you is my book. I've just written a book. It's just gone to the publisher, and it will be out in a couple of, maybe a month or so. But when the ebook is ready, it goes into all these concepts in much more detail. I'm happy to send that to you at no charge. So if you just fill out the bottom of the form, also give me some feedback on what you thought of the talk today, and I'd be happy to receive that feedback. Let me say this in closing. Napoleon was a very powerful military general. His success was phenomenal. And he said something very, very interesting. What he said was, all I see is the objective. The obstacles must give way. What a powerful concept. All I see is the objective. The obstacles must give way. That is the conviction that entrepreneurs must bring to their game. That all you see is your vision. And whatever obstacles stand in your way, they must give way. Because the vision is real. Once you can formulate it, once you can see it, it exists. It has come into reality. All you're doing is you're taking that energy and transforming it to another form. You're taking it to another form. That's all. So I am honored. Thank you, Lily.